we saw, and it's the reason that we created Epic and the Scalable Company and our Scale and Exit Advisory, consultancy, that the opportunity and the advantage, like where you could actually have an advantage, was no longer on, ooh, look at me, I could raise the most money. Because guess what? Everybody had a ton of money. Or, ooh, look at me, we've got the best analysts and we've got the most, access to debt and other types of, leverage liquidity. Everybody had that. Well, when the second thing went away and when the first thing was just table stakes, well, that's no longer your advantage. So what's the only real advantage left as a business? Let's kick it old school. What if we just figure out how to grow this thing the good old fashioned way, which is almost only never on a spreadsheet.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Business Lunch with your hosts, Ryan Dice and me, Roland Frazier. Wonderful to see you today, Ryan. What's new and exciting in your world?
So thankfully not a ton of new, because I talked about this. I sort of just want to optimize what we have as opposed to creating a ton of new. A few new things here and there I know we've talked about in the last episode, but now just kind of getting into a groove. What about you?
Yeah, getting ready for our Founders Board meeting and our Epic Board meeting and our Rise Nation meeting, all of which are happening next week, which is quite a lot for 1 week. Looking forward to seeing you in person and hanging out. And I may or may not have some fun bottles of wine for us to enjoy. And then, right around the corner from that is our big event at Get Scalable, right? So it's a busy time of year for us.
It is that season. It's the fall, but I've said it before, like I'm an introvert, that, but I really do like being around my people, our people. That's fun. And, I think we've done a pretty good job at this point of curating a community of people who, when we walk into the room, we're not like, good God, I don't like these people. And I'll tell you, if you have a business and you would be terrified or not enjoy walking into a room with a bunch of your customers or clients, then something has gone horribly wrong. So all introversion and, social anxiety aside, I'm actually really, really excited about the next week.
Yeah, me too. I think it'll be really fun. Well, one of the things that we'll be talking about then at those meetings is what's going on in the world of buying and selling businesses. And recently came across an article that was talking about how private equity has a new set of rising stars and it is evolving into private equity 3.0. And the thesis behind the article was that originally, back in the day, private equity came in and said, we're going to do financial engineering. We're just going to go in, get your business. You guys don't know that much about finance, so we're going to play with that. They did it, great returns, and more people came into private equity, which made it harder to do just that kind of engineering. So they went to private equity 2.0, which was really focused on acquisitions. So how can we acquire companies and just scale up through roll-ups? So where you saw a lot of private equity rolling into brick and mortar businesses like HVAC and plumbing and things like that, electricians. And that was kind of private equity 2.0. And now they're saying that, and there was an evolution to 2.5. I don't remember what their argument was there, but it wasn't a significant enough upgrade for it to be a full version. So the 3.0 is that the new stars, and this is shocking and revolutionary, are the operators that you bring in to run the businesses efficiently.
Yes. The people that actually grow it. So the big innovation in private equity is maybe instead of just financially like engineering this thing, or maybe instead of just doing like, leverage buyouts, or, maybe instead of just like juicing it with a bunch of cash so that it can just do a bunch of acquisitions that aren't as synergistic as we would like for them to be. What if, and hear me out, we just try to grow the companies that we buy?
Yeah.
That's the breakthrough?
Yeah, that's it. So the focus is on the new rising star is rather than the jet-setting hedge fundy investment banker types that are the quants that are doing all the financial engineering, which has fallen to about, I think, between 18 and 21% of the value that gets added. Because these guys, the challenge is you have tens of thousands now of private equity funds with trillions of dollars that are trying to find deals. And the deals that they're finding, particularly with higher interest rates and inflation and uncertain economy around the elections and a drying up of government funds,
and increased
they're
valuations
finding,
because of increased competition. Like you
yeah,
said, they're just being so dang many of these things. They're having to
for
overbid.
that, for that. But even more difficult for them is that if they just like if they go in when they can borrow debt at 3% or 5%, then it's very easy for them to make their money with financial engineering and borrowing a lot of money, not only to acquire the company, but also to acquire other companies. But when debt becomes significantly more expensive, which it has, then that primary thing that they've been using to fund all of this has at least doubled in cost. And so what that results in is we can't do nearly as many deals because they just don't have the margins or the metrics for us to be able to do it. We can't just go in and it's good. Now all we have to do is acquire.
Yeah.
It's now, my goodness, we've got to go in and support this debt that's twice what it used to be, plus this debt service, plus we need to have enough extra money to be able to do this other stuff too. So we need this company to actually grow. We need the margins to actually improve. And so the new stars are the operators who are now responsible for I think it's about 2 to 3 times the percentage of growth that gets realized by the firm, or growth in value that gets realized by the firms, is coming from these operators. So now they are becoming more of the stars of the show, which means there's going to be a greater need for good operating systems. That's good for us at Scalable, to be put into these companies that are being acquired, and operators who know how to grow, who know how to actually manage a business and identify the KPIs. And there's always a shortage of those. So look at, I can't remember the names. It's like maybe Coletti or something like that. The guy that was the CEO of Pepsi brands, Taco Bell, and then got promoted, then left and was the CEO for several years for Chipotle, and now has just been hired on a $113 million contract to be the CEO of Starbucks, right? $10 million signing bonus, $75 million in stock as an equity grant, and and all kinds of other stuff. This kind of insane compensation package that he has, in addition to $1.6 million or $1.8 million salary plus bonuses that could take that to $3 million. He's going to do okay, but here's the deal: they need him, right? And these operators are only going to be more and more valuable. So if I was ever looking for a place to focus my attentions, if I was in the working world and not in the investor world these days, it would be, I'm going to go and up my operating skills game so that I can be the person who runs these businesses, and and get my increased compensation from all these private equity funds that are trying desperately to find good operators that know how to grow and manage a business. So huge opportunity. And for people who own regular businesses that are looking to exit, this is something that's going to be a huge, huge, huge additional plus for you. If you've got a solid ops team, then private equity is going to look at that and say, this is a team that we can actually maybe use as our platform team, not a platform company anymore, but our platform team to help grow this and other businesses. So lots and lots to me to take away from what's going on there.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, it's incredibly validating because you and I saw this coming, because we were living on both sides, both dealing with private equity from the sales side, but also competing with them at times on the acquisition side, and seeing it was becoming basically impossible to spreadsheet your way to a good exit, to a good liquidity. Like it just wasn't there anymore. And so we saw, and it's the reason that we created Epic and the Scalable Company and our scale and exit advisory, consultancy, that the opportunity and the advantage, like where you could actually have an advantage, was no longer on, ooh, look at me, I could raise the most money. Because guess what? Everybody had a ton of money. Or, ooh, look at me, we've got the best analysts and we've got the most, access to debt and other types of, leverage liquidity. Everybody had that. Well, when the second thing went away and when the first thing was just table stakes, well, that's no longer your advantage. So what's the only real advantage left as a business? Let's kick it old school. What if we just figure out how to grow this thing the good old fashioned way, which is almost only never on a spreadsheet. So I think it'd be fun to kind of talk about that side of the equation and like what good operators do that's different. But just for context, I think a lot of people may not understand when we talk about financial engineering. Can you give an example of in the olden days, back like whether it's like 1.0 or 2.0, some combination, what would private equity companies look to do? Can you kind of give an example, like a prototypical example of a
Yeah.
financial engineered business?
The classic one would be if you ever saw the movie Pretty Woman, what Richard Gere's character did there, which was he would go in and buy companies that had assets that were greater than the market was valuing the company at the time.